Welcome to the Full Moon Film Buff, episode 149. We are going to talk about Light of Blood from 2005. I rented this from Scarecrow Video. I had not seen this before. As always, we start with the prominent crew and cast. You can always find links to a more complete credit list in the show notes. The film was written and directed by Gustavo Perez. Makeup was by Daniel Palermo, Mark A. Nash, and Gustavo Perez. Gustavo Perez is a professional extra with uncredited minor roles in films like Ocean's 11, Any Given Sunday, Armageddon, Dolphin Tale, and Magic Mike. Light of Blood is his only writing and directing credit. Mark Nash has an impressive list of TV show guest spots. The cast includes Michael Chomick as Colonel Julio Ramos, Rebecca Marie Hollycross as Dr. Katya Smith, Mark A. Nash as Dr. Rashidov, Gustavo Perez as Tony Luna, Joel D. Wincoop as Fritz, the /CIA agent, Bob Crusher. This is Michael Chumick and Rebecca Marie Hollycross's only acting credit. Veteran B-movie horror actor Joel Wincoop has a career spanning several decades. Most films he appears in are shot on a shoestring budget. I cannot, in good conscience, recommend this film to anyone, not even the most dedicated werewolf film completionists. Sound quality and volume are horrible throughout the entire runtime, but the accents are worse. A hodgepodge of inconsistent attempts at Russian and German that slide between laughable into incomprehensible. The film feels like it was made by people who had heard about a werewolf movie, but never actually seen one. So let's cover the synopsis quick. Cuban Colonel Julio Ramos and 3 Russian scientists observe chimps while they discuss an experimental serum. Ramos and one of the Russian scientists, Katya, go on a date. 3 months later, he proposes. She almost immediately starts cheating on him with Tony, an old guy who thinks that he can use nunchucks. They are caught, and as punishment, Tony is assigned to be the first human test subject for the serum. Katya thinks that she has made a breakthrough. At first, things go well. Tony reports that he is better in every way, but at night, he turns into a werewolf and goes on rampages. The scientists expand their testing pool to include a German spy named Fritz. Fritz and Tony become sword-wielding, nunchuck-swinging, super stud best buddies who plan to swim to Florida. Instead, Fritz assaults a young lady. The Cuban cops have no idea what could leave such wounds. The cops want to use Tony's superior sense of smell to track the assailant. Somehow he's also a forensic expert. Fritz kills more random people for reasons that I cannot fathom, other than he's a werewolf. Oh, both Tony and Fritz are killing different people. An old Russian gypsy woman tells the cops that the killer is a werewolf. One victim survives and confirms that it is a werewolf. Finally, a murder is committed right in front of 3 witnesses, and they still can't catch the werewolf. Tony hooks up with a new girl who has a bloody star of David on the palm of her hand. She has a vision of Tony tied to a cross. He ends up killing her in front of several witnesses. How have the cops not caught up with this guy? Eventually, Tony the werewolf comes and attacks Ramos directly. Then he moves to kill Katya. She grabs a sword off of the wall and simply stabs him. The end. Except for a weird coda where we find out that the CIA had undercover agents there the whole time observing the shenanigans. Oh, and Katya has somehow been turned into a werewolf. Oh well. Okay, I do have to give the filmmakers a little bit of credit. This was a transformation I had never seen before. Mind you, it's not good. It's just new. Instead of using fades or dissolves between the different stages of applied makeup, they use quick zooms in and on Tony's face. It's disorienting, but I can't deny that it's unique. The final werewolf design looks like they ran out of fur and just painted the actors blue-gray with some patchy hair glued to their faces. The hands are decent prosthetics, but the faces look like Halloween masks purchased at a discount store. Light of Blood plays fast and loose with its werewolf mythology. Tony and Fritz are transformed into werewolves through experimental serum injections, not through infection, curses, or deals with supernatural entities. However, the film never clarifies whether Katya's transformation occurs through the same means. One could imagine a scenario where she injected herself with the serum, believing it had only positive effects on Tony and Fritz, only to tragically discover its downsides far too late. The film strongly implies Katya was infected by Tony during their final confrontation, which contradicts everything previously established. The movie provides no information about what triggers the transformations, abandoning any connection to moon cycles. Silver is never mentioned as a weakness. In fact, the only traditional werewolf elements retained are the wolf-like appearance and the bloodlust. All right. When filmmakers have characters speaking in accented English rather than authentic native languages, they employ a convention that is so common we rarely even question it. This practice merits examination as both an artistic choice and a practical necessity. While Light of Blood demonstrates how poorly executed accents can become United Nations of embarrassing performances, thoughtfully implemented accented English comes from two sources, diegetic and non-diegetic. Diegetically, accents exist within the story world. Characters speak with accents because that's their natural way of speaking English, either as a non-native speaker, Hans Gruber or Sophie in Sophie's Choice, or with regional accents, Crocodile Dundee or Benoit Blanc. Non-diegetically, accents function as storytelling shorthand, signaling characters are actually speaking another language entirely, which we hear as accented English for convenience. Understanding this distinction helps viewers process the filmmaker's intent. A practical reason for accented English is actor limitations. Few performers can deliver emotionally nuanced performances in multiple languages. When actors work in languages that they're comfortable with, they can focus on emotional truth rather than on linguistic mechanics. Film production involves numerous logistical challenges, and language complexity impacts budgets. Hiring language coaches requires resources many productions cannot afford. Additionally, filming in one language simplifies production and processes from directing to editing. The primary purpose of accented English is audience accessibility. While some viewers are multilingual, no one is fluent in every major language, making translation or subtitles necessary for comprehension. However, subtitles divide audience attention between reading text and watching performances. Cinema is fundamentally visual and auditory, not literary. Accented English offers a compromise that maintains narrative clarity while signaling cultural differences. Subtitles have become more accepted in English-speaking markets, but subtitle fatigue remains a real concern. Long sections of subtitled dialogue can diminish engagement. Accented English allows audiences to focus on the visual storytelling and the actor's expressions without constantly reading dialogue, particularly advantageous in visually complex sequences. Accents provide immediate cultural context, establishing character backgrounds without language barriers. This shorthand helps viewers place characters within the cultural landscape efficiently. Many stories realistically involve characters switching between multiple languages. Rather than toggling between subtitled foreign dialogue and English, accented English maintains narrative flow while acknowledging linguistic differences. Accents can highlight cultural tensions or emphasize otherness, driving narrative conflict. The degree of a character's accent can communicate information about their background, education, and relationship to dominant cultures. Without translation constraints, writers can craft dialogue preserving intended meanings, wordplay, and cultural references. Accented English allows screenwriters to create dialogue working within English language storytelling conventions while acknowledging the character's diversity. In some films, it serves as a metaphorical representation of how characters hear each other. The memorable sequence where Ahmad ibn Fadlan learns the Northmen's language in The 13th Warrior demonstrates this approach, as their speech gradually transforms from their native tongue to Scandinavian accented English. Commercial realities influence filmmaking decisions. English language films typically have wider distribution potential globally. Even with growing acceptance of subtitled content, many distributors prefer English language productions for certain markets. Accented English has a long cinematic tradition, establishing it as accepted shorthand for foreign languages. From classic Hollywood to contemporary cinema, audiences process this convention almost unconsciously. Certain genres, particularly period pieces and war films, have established strong conventions around accented English. These expectations form part of a tacit agreement between the filmmaker and the viewers. Cinema relies on an audience willing to suspend its disbelief. Accented English creates a consistent cinematic reality where viewers accept the convention as part of the film's eternal logic. The use of accented English in film is a compromise between artistic intent, practical limitations, and audience needs. While poor execution can result in distracting performances, see this movie, thoughtfully implemented accented speech makes diverse stories accessible. In a global marketplace, directors must continue making choices about language representation. Whether opting for authentic language with subtitles, accented English, or other approaches, these decisions impact how stories are told and received. Understanding these choices will enhance our appreciation of cinema as both art form and cultural product. So now let's talk about how important sound is. When analyzing cinema, visual elements often dominate critical attention, yet sound design, the invisible architecture supporting every frame, frequently determines a film's success. This becomes most evident when a sound design fails, creating a disconnection no visual spectacle can overcome. And oh boy, Light of Blood exemplifies this failure. Background noises overwhelms crucial dialogue, forcing viewers to strain for plot essential information and breaking the fundamental contract between filmmaker and audience. The musical score compounds this disconnect, with romantic saxophone solos during violent transformations and soft jazz accompanying chase sequences. These bewildering choices create cognitive dissonance rather than emotional resonance. Light of Blood demonstrates a fundamental misunderstanding of sound's purpose in horror cinema. Many successful films employ strategic silence to build tension. This production offers constant, poorly mixed audio that simultaneously overwhelms and underwhelms. Effective sound design supports and drives emotional experience without drawing attention to itself. Sound designers craft layers of ambient noise, effects, dialogue, and music that work in concert to shape our perception of visual elements. Consider the oppressive silence in A Quiet Place, where sound functions as both a plot device and a tension-building tool, or how Blade Runner 2049 creates overwhelming scale and alienation through industrial soundscapes. These films recognize sound as an equal partner in storytelling, not merely complementary to visuals. Sound design's most fundamental task is ensuring dialogue remains intelligible. When background elements overpower crucial conversations, as happened repeatedly in Light of Blood, the narrative crumbles, leaving viewers frustrated and disengaged. Effective sound mixing prioritizes dialogue clarity while balancing other audio elements. Films like The Social Network handle rapid-fire conversations in noisy environments without sacrificing intelligibility, while No Country for Old Men creates unbearable tension through sparse dialogue against subtle atmospheric sound. Without clear dialogue, even visually stunning films can become incomprehensible. Now, a film's score functions as an emotional guidance system. When this system malfunctions, playing romantic themes during horror sequences or upbeat music during tragic scenes, it creates emotional confusion rather than clarity. Light of Blood's discordant musical choices undermine its intentions pretty much all the time, with saxophone solos during werewolf transformations creating unintentional comedy and elevator music diffusing danger during chase sequences. Contrast this with Jaws' iconic two-note theme signaling danger, or Psycho's screeching violins becoming synonymous with terror. These scores align with their scenes' emotional trajectories, guiding viewers through intended experiences rather than scrambling them. Now, horror cinema often proves that what we don't hear can be more frightening than what we do. Strategic silence creates anticipation, allowing viewers' imagination to conjure deeply personal fears. Films like The Witch and Hereditary use extended near silence to build tension, punctuated by carefully placed sounds for maximum effect. When sound design succeeds completely, most viewers won't notice it. They'll be too immersed in the story. This paradox, that perfect sound design often goes completely unremarked, explains why it receives less critical attention despite its absolutely critical importance. Films like Light of Blood, I guess, do us a service by inadvertently highlighting sound design's significance by demonstrating how distracting poor execution becomes. When viewers start commenting on the sound mixing or the musical incongruities, the film's spell is broken. Beyond dialogue and music, sound design creates a sense of place and atmosphere that visuals alone can't achieve. The sinister noises from unknown sources in the mist establish pervasive fear. The intricate sound layers of Star Wars alien marketplaces convince us of a living, breathing world that extends beyond the scope of the frame. When these environmental elements fail, as they do in Light of Blood's pedestrian soundscapes, settings feel artificial and unconvincing. Its werewolf-infected world never materializes because its sonic landscape lacks the specificity and authenticity needed to make fantastic elements believable. Sound design remains both one of filmmaking's most powerful tools and its often most overlooked component. Films like Light of Blood inadvertently demonstrate just how crucial sound design is to cinematic success. Through their failures, we can hopefully better appreciate the invisible artistry behind films that get it right. The next time you find yourself completely immersed in a film, try to notice its soundscape, the ambient noises establishing the setting, the musical cues guiding the emotional response, the perfect clarity of important dialogue. These elements, working in harmony, create a complete cinematic experience. When they fail, even promising visual storytelling crumbles under the weight of audio disconnection. Masterful sound doesn't enhance a film, it completes it. So, if you like lycanthropes, like, share, and subscribe. Contribute your thoughts and additional observations in the comments below. Let me know what I missed or what you noticed. Next, I plan on discussing Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit from 2005. Keep your eye on the moon, a silver bullet in the chamber, and we'll see you back next episode.